I'm always so scared of the game, and that was so good. Well done. I want to introduce you to each other quickly. Can I ask overseers and Shane to stand up? Okay, the reason they're laughing is because he said he'll never take a title, but he'll do the job. So anyway, Shane. So just so you know, this group of people, and Tim up there, for the last 3 years have looked after me and this church so incredibly well. So I'll just quickly introduce you. Shane looks after Durban North kind of people. If you want to be in a group, he's the guy to speak to, and he just plays support for Durban North people. Then Ange is our supernatural lady. So she is strong in the prophetic, often brings prophetic words that help us know the season we're in and where we're going. Unbelievable gift to us. Estelle over here oversees Glenwood, is so full of the Holy Spirit that sometimes when you're around her, you burn up. She is the demon casting out, full of faith, incredible gift. Yeah, she's amazing. And so she heads up our Glenwood community and is awesome. Justy, guys, should we just give a hand to the man who has led us so well in worship? Yeah, he heads up creative worship and makes sure the church doesn't break from me. So we love him so much. Brent over there looks after the Wild Wild West, and he has taken over the parenting space, dedications, and more to come. A massive gift to us. And man, I don't know if you've been under his teaching, but when he teaches, you feel like you have been eldered. It just feels weighty. So thank you for the gift you are, and your wonderful wife, Zoldi. Linda over there is part of our Morningside crew, of which this dude is also helping. So Seth, just stand up. And Tim leads it. So if you're in a Morningside kind of area and you want to know where to plug in, these guys have got it waxed. There's a team of 3 of them, and they rock it. Thank you. Sia oversees all the young adults and the PM service, and is just a real gift, isn't he? You know, there we go. Lovely having him. If you are part of a ministry team, or you lead a ministry, just stand up. Can the real ministry leaders please stand up? Okay, there we go. Justy, what? Sorry. You basically run that kids' church. Okay, if you're in one of the ministry teams as well, if you serve in a ministry team, so you're on worship, you're on kids' church, you're on hospitality, these awesome people. Thank you for building the church. You amazing people, you gifts. And you, Jonathan. Sorry, that is the funniest human I know. But on like day 2, he said to me, Pastor, your hair is getting a little too long. Please, can you cut it? Anyway, here's a massive gift. Leeds, quickly, tell us about youth. From here. Shout. Just shout. You got a massive voice. Tell us about gangster youth.
So Ross calls it gangster youth. I'm not sure how I feel about that yet. But I'm all right. I'm sure Jesus will sit with those guys. Anyways, sorry. It's not a speech as such. I'm just trying to figure out where to begin because I don't think you're going to set me up this way. Anyways, youth has been incredible. Can I paint a long picture then a short picture, just so people understand?
You've got 3 minutes. After that, I'll push you off.
Cool. I'm gonna. You know this from Sunday evening. I'm gonna go for a bit long. 3 minutes is warm up. Anyways, so from the time that I took over youth with a small Anyana team, really incredible guys that took us through a very a weird exchange because Mike handed over and then went across the world. Weird thing to navigate, and then the next season after that was straight into a building project, another weird season to navigate. Really depended on a little core of people, youth, kids, and leaders to hold that together. 2019 saw a little bit of I think that was the easiest year of youth in terms of fire team, experienced people, everything like firing, and then into COVID after 2019, which has been another like nightmare to navigate. And so there's been a lot of things that I think of throughout the years that I've been praying for, and you don't often see things as they happen, like in terms of prayers answered as they happen. It's only when you stop to think, and so it'll happen often when I'm leaving here at the end of a long night, or the season has passed and I'm sitting just thinking about youth and reflecting, and I'll see like God's hand on stuff and the way He's given us the people we've needed for every single season. So to take you back to like 2019, my prayer was for a team that wasn't so male dominated. Now I'm one of three males on the team. And the rest is all young ladies, and they're so on fire. And so I'm going to take this moment to honor one of them that I know are here for sure. Where's Plamedi? Plamedi, I know, so please stand, please. But Plum was in matric last year, and she was one of the, even tonight I told her, I think you have to be here. If no one else is here, I want you to be here. Because she took it upon herself to just take over stuff and run stuff. As soon as her hole opened up, she was like, I'm there, what do you need? How can I serve you? How can I help you? While navigating matric. And then when it came to the end of the year, I thought, oh, well, she's going to get busy and step away, and she never did. Very core to our worship team, very core to just the way we do youth in general. Just took another job doing our graphics and design stuff, been managing our social media, just an absolute titan of a person. And so, yes, a round of applause for Plum. And then, you can sit. And then, like, I love all my other leaders massively. Vernon, I see you. Vernon has been the father of our ministry. And man, I was actually telling someone I had a meeting with today how incredible he's been at like pastoring the worst cases, and even the small things like remembering people's birthdays. He's the first to just go on the group, hey, it's this guy's birthday, remember to wish him. Hey, this is happening in this person's family. I'm worried about this person, I'm going to go speak with. And he always follows through on it, brings it back to me, and like helps a whole ton of people. And so he's been teaching me how to, like, he's my role model in terms of how to pastor young people, because he does it so brilliantly. So to Vernon, thank you so much. And then to some of the young kids stuff, which is like, because that's what the youth is about. It's about the young kids' lives being changed. Like the older guys like Plum just coming through, a lot of the kids her age were like, we call them snot lighties. So just not very clever or headed in a good direction. And you give it time and you build relationship with these guys. And I think of how many of them are now serving in team, doing stuff. There's a kid last year who came to Anchored, was 17, so didn't belong there, but was invited by his two little nephews who were invited by someone else in the ministry who was also a kid. So I think, it was Adila and Arifa. They live down here, also like have the hardest life, but are so generous with their time, so committed, and have loved this place so much that they call it home, and they keep inviting people. And so they invited these two, because these boys invited their uncle essentially. And and this guy was afraid to read a Bible last year because he thought he was too bad to do it. Now he's at Anchored every week, and he's leading the young guys. He testified last week that his sister was kind of denouncing God, saying, where is God? What has God done for us? And he was like, what do you mean, what has God done for us? Look at me. Look at how we are still alive. Look at how he provided that $250 last week when you didn't have, and now I got to buy you stuff for the house. And to hear that same guy that was afraid to read a Bible last year because he was too scared, he thought he was too bad and something would happen to him, be like, he's still a work in progress, but flip, God is doing an amazing thing in his life. And there's similar stories. Annabelle, who got baptized last year, also came and lives on the point, young, so very impressionable and stuff. And there's an age people get to where you go like, you've told them enough and you've said enough, and you have to put your hands off them a little bit and let them make mistakes. And she's come through that so beautifully. So many of those guys have come through that so beautifully. And yeah, she got baptized last year, and she's always, every week, what can I do? Can I be on worship? I'm not on worship. Please, my MC. She just wants to do stuff, and she's inviting. And even the baptism thing, I didn't bring it up. She initiated. I want to get baptized. And so, yeah, that's a lot of the stuff that's been happening. And then also just to celebrate the numbers, because we're constantly surprised at how consistently well it's gone and how people keep inviting people, and it's been sustained through hard seasons. That's not as cool as I am at preaching. It gets boring after like 3 weeks. So it's not me. and my leadership team is like very young and inexperienced, so it's definitely not us as such. It's just God entrusting us with a whole bunch of young people, creating this safe space. That's why I always celebrate that. Like, the way you give has given us an opportunity to be able to do something like this. And our motto there is to just be for young people what we needed when we were their age. And so, yeah, I've been loving doing that.
Litz is leading a great youth group, friends. They're very, sometimes they're 70 kids, sometimes they go all the way up past 100, come back down to like 50. So it's a very healthy youth group with some pretty tough stories. And so when you see him, give him love. He does well. I'm excited for this year. I'm so confident this year. And it is not a confidence that is based on anything outside, because there's not a lot to be confident from the outside. But I've just gone through that season where a lot gets stripped away, and when you go through a wilderness patch, you will either go to faith or rebellion. It's polarity. You can't go to just like halfway. You will either go like the Israelites to rebellion, or like Joshua and Caleb to faith. And the grace of God has just brought deeper and deeper faith. And I am so utterly confident for this year. I'm seeing great things happen in so many spaces. But I'm confident because Christ has put something into my spirit for this year. So I want to speak about that. And I want to say that whenever you are leading a church, I think the reason that God gave me kite surfing was so that I would learn how to lead a church. Because the thing about kite surfing is you cannot manipulate the wind. Like, you can't make it blow harder. But when the wind blows, you better ride it. And so if you look at kite surfing people, I don't know how they stay married, because they're basically watching their phone the whole time to see when the wind is going to blow so that they can go kite surfing. I don't know how they hold down jobs. But anyway, the whole thing is, how do I respond to the wind? Sometimes in church, the wind of God blows so strongly that you just hang on and you just run with it. And sometimes there's a little breeze. And I just want to kite surf the whole time, but sometimes I thought there was more of a breeze than there was, and I landed up thrashing the wind trying to stay standing. And I think the last 3 years have been a bit like that. But it feels like this year the wind is blowing. And so prophetic words help you understand what to do when the wind blows. And I don't know how many times I've missed a prophetic word or not understood a prophetic word. I'll give you a couple of examples. When we started Kloof Church, I was taken to, I've got a picture here. I said to God, and I'm not really this type of person, but I said to God, Lord, show me where we must put a building. Give me an idea. So he took me, Thomas, it's coming. Oh, no, not that one. Next one. He took me to this circle. So, because you're olive tree people, Stokers is here. Yeah, you see, now everyone knows where it is. Okay. I went to that circle, and this was, I don't know, 10 years ago. And I felt like the Holy Spirit, you know what's wonderful about God? You ask him for something, and he talks to you about something completely different, but it answers your question at the same time. I just didn't know. So I felt like he said, go to the circle. And he said, look around. And I saw a bank, a bar, a Christian Science church, a library thing, a civic center, and I don't know if there was something else. And I felt like God said to me, these are the idols in Kloof. Tear them down. That was the end of the conversation. Didn't know anything else about it, but that was the place I was taken to. 5 or 6 years later, that Christian Science building came up, and we bought it. The idols were in Kloof: finance, alcohol, knowledge, library, science, I think I said. Banking. There's a standard over there. Anyway, we bought that. It is amazing how God will give you a prophetic word, but the wind won't blow on it until a certain time. But when the wind blows, there's nothing you can really do to stop it. It will happen. I can see so many prophetic words. I just didn't know the season. I was dumb. When God gave me the prophetic word, when I went into ministry, be strong and courageous, from Joshua 1, it says 3 times, be strong and courageous. I thought it was for the beginning of ministry. It wasn't. It was for last year, so that I would stay in ministry. It was just, you got to know when. But I have a sense that the wind is blowing. I have a sense in my spirit. I have a sense from the prophetic words. There's a discernment amongst this great group of people of, man, the wind is blowing. And there are kind of 3 words that I want to share with you that I think are really important for this next season. 3 scriptures. Revelation 2:5. It says, remember therefore from where you have fallen, repent and do the works you did at first. I don't think this is meant to be that much of a rebuke. It might be a bit. But I want you, there are a few people who I actually just need to honor. The Sparkses, how long have you been in the church? 13, 14 years. Eh? Legomatas, a little bit less. About the same. Oh, isn't that awesome? Cravelings, how long have you been here? 5 years. No, you fib. You've been here longer, bro. Your memory's going. By the way, my parents are there. They have been married for 35 years today. Can you give them a hand? My dad says after worship he can't hear for a week, but thank you for coming, Dad. Kath has been here for much, much longer. I got lost in my train of thought. The things that we did at first, church in a bar, don't know how many of you remember that. It was very funny when the waitress came to the Lord first. And then the guy who was keen for her. And then Steve, your mates from the bluff, started coming. And then people got saved. It was beautiful. The things we did at first. Do you guys remember when we took every life group to the nest? I don't know how many of you remember that. Do you remember seeing that many terrified faces? Some of your faces were that terrified. I remember someone saying to me, Ross, I don't think that I am supposed to ever go to the nest. It is terrifying. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, the nest is a shelter down in the middle of town. And so we just took Olive Tree people, week in, week out. We just went, you are going to learn about poor people. And it changed us. It was amazing. Who remembers McCord Hospital? Going there every single week to pray for sick people. We saw some incredible miracles. And I met some people with incredibly strange diseases who was very scary. Anyway, we saw amazing things. But you know the thing that I always celebrate is how many non-Christians came to faith. There was a pre-COVID in February. I can't remember what year it was, but in February, I felt God say to me, do an altar call every week until Easter. And from the end of February when I started till Easter, 132 people gave their lives to Jesus. It was just doing the things that we did at first. I remember when that Aussie guy who was sitting over there gave his life in the first service. For those of you who don't know the story, he came up to me right at the end of my service and he said, I don't find your preaching very impressive. He was an Australian, so it was potentially a compliment, I don't know. But he was crying, and then he said, but I can feel the presence of God, and I need to give my life to Jesus. And I knew, sometimes in the Spirit, you just know that was a trickle, but a river's about to flow. When that lady came to me after Sunday, this Sunday was incredible in worship. The Sunday before, I felt something of the presence of God, and I just knew a trickle had started that will be a river. It's just little things. So 3 words that we will dive into. The first one is, go back to the things you did at first. The second is, I felt this so clearly, and there's such a witness with it. Fan into flame the gift of evangelism. Now, let me just put it in context. Shane keeps me educated with what's going on in the country. And so he'll send me WhatsApps, they're about this long, that he gets as a trader, and they'll say things like this. Steel and engineering industry calls for all hands on deck to solve energy crisis. Poultry sector warns of rising prices due to load shedding. Eskom's power price hike widely rejected as unfair, unjust, and cruel. SA deficit problem worsened by exodus of foreign investors. 2/3 of economists now predict 2023 world recession. Fears over diesel prices hikes as sanctions set to hit Russian fuel exports, which when you get a whole one like that, it's quite exciting. You feel full of faith at the end of it. Shane's just trying to make sure that I am a man of God. And the bad news comes at us at such an alarming rate that I've realized you are either going to put your faith in the bad news, or you're going to put your faith in the fact that my God shall provide my needs according to his riches and glory in Christ Jesus. You're either going to put your faith in the beautiful finance ministers, we will solve our Eskom problems in 18 months, or you will go, that's probably not going to happen, but if I seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, all these things will be added unto me. And I just realized, the time for playing Christianity, I think we could do that a little while ago. I don't think you can do that anymore. I think you've got to be all in or you're dead. And so this year, I want to move us as a church into all in. And the sense I have is that there's a grace on evangelism. And I'm going to fan evangelism into flame again. It is part of the works that we did at first. And as we do it, you will start to see your need for God growing, and I believe you'll start to see your priorities aligned to the kingdom. This is what we are going to be about this year. And I was trying to work out a way to invite you all into it. And I'm going to explain the series we're going to do and a little bit of the life group content, because most of you are either in life groups or are leading life groups if you're not in ministries. But we've got 3 series in the first term. The first one is this 111 hours. Been cool up until now, hey? Happy? Cool? The second one we're doing doesn't have a name at the moment, but is it's basically the 2022 version of the book The Secret. Do you remember that? Pop psychology. Everybody got one? Even Christians, and they went, huh? Well, there was a book called Manifest that came out last year. It just sold everywhere. And what we're going to do is we're going to take pop psychology and we're going to pop it. We're going to go, here's where this is true. Here's where this is a lie. This is where the gospel works itself out. The reason we're doing that series is because we want you to all invite 1 million people. Because I think people are going to be so excited. We're going to talk about cycles of sabotage and things like that. And then we're going to sneaky catch them with Jesus. So that will be happening the second. And then the Bible book that we're going to be doing all of this year is the book of Hebrews. So we're going to do it in 3 parts. Hebrews 1-4 leading to Easter. The beauty of Hebrews is Jesus is bigger than. That's basically the first 7 chapters, is Jesus is bigger than. He's bigger than angels, bigger than Moses, bigger than, it just goes on, bigger than, bigger than, bigger than. He's just remarkable. So you can't read the book of Hebrews and not just be like, oh, God, you're good. It's full of grace until you get to chapter 6, a little bit scary, and chapter 12, where we discipline. Anyway, but outside of that, it is just fantastic. So that'll be the book we're studying throughout the year. That's what's going to happen in our Sundays. In our midweek, you will get one of these. Can we put the slide up? Okay, so this is a bit of a midweek curriculum. We are going to keep doing videos. I'll quickly talk you through them. Life Group 101 is to kick your life groups off, especially for there are a whole bunch of people who came here tonight. You're starting little groups with 4 mates. Well done. So stoked. And please, if you see people, they come in 3s, 4s, 6s, whatever, say to them, why don't you just start your own little group? We've got content for you. We'll give you support. So week 1 is like an introduction to life groups. Week 1's vision evening. Week 2, which is your week 1. Week 3 is spiritual gifts. And friends, this year we need to push a little deeper into spiritual gifts, into praying together, into laying hands. If you're a life group leader, we're not asking you to facilitate. We're asking you to pastor a little. So we'll give you the content and all the support, but we want to take the church a little deeper. So spiritual gifts will be there. Living baptized will be about both being baptized and then living from being baptized. So if people haven't been baptized, we would love you to encourage them to get baptized, and then we'd love you to get into the water with them. We've heated it up. No, I'm joking. We haven't. Okay, week 5 is the one I really want to speak to. Whole church, praying and fasting on the 21st of Feb. Quickly, in your diary, put it in now. 21st of Feb, not eating all day. We are praying and fasting. So we'll have a 6 a.m. prayer meeting. We'll have a 12 noon prayer meeting. And we'll have praise and prayer and breaking of fast. If you're holy, after praise and prayer. If you're less holy, just before. But friends, fasting gives power. Eh? So on the 21st, we want to bring all the life groups together, and we're going to fast and pray, and then we're going to celebrate at the end. Sorry. Air is coming out. Then we go into that next series, Discipling My Emotions, Discipling My Desires, Discipling My Decisions, Shabbat. And then in week 10, we have an equipping night. And we have invited a theologian by the name of Derek Morphew. He has spoken here once before. He is phenomenal. He's really, really gifted. He is one of the key vineyard theologians, which means he is very strong in kingdom theology. He travels around the world speaking. The great thing about him is that he has deep wells of theology, but then he is practiced. So he will take it from theory into this is how you pray for healing. This is how you lay hands on the sick. This is how you get people baptized in the Spirit, and he will be amazing. Okay, so that's some of the stuff that is coming up. Now, I said that we want to fan into flame the gift of evangelism. Here's what I'm wanting us to get really good at: inviting people. Not just inviting people to church, inviting people to spiritual conversations, inviting people to pray. Do you know how many people, you know how much people appreciate it when you say, can I pray with you? If they're different religion, they'll often say, okay. Most people respond positively to be invited to a prayer. We want this to be a church that invites. Now, to make this a little more interactive, what I would like you to do is find 2 or 3 people who you know, 4 people who you know, and I just want you to talk about how quickly, and the best answers will get a chocolate from Luto later. No, I'm joking. But I want you to just have a chat about how we can turn our culture from COVID-y, it's all about me culture, into inviting culture. As a life group, as a ministry, as a serving team. So just quickly break into 4s and have a quick conversation. How are we going to shift this church into an inviting culture? Go. Friends, there will be a grace on it. If you engage, you'll start to see a grace, even for introverts. There will be a grace on just little invitations. Now, this leads to the next word that Estelle sent me first, and then like 4 people sent to me the same week, was just enlarge the place of your tent, Isaiah 54:2. Stretch your tent curtains wide. Do not hold back. Lengthen your cords. Strengthen your stakes. For you'll spread out to the right and to the left. Your descendants will dispossess nations and settle in their desolate cities. I long for my kids to dispossess nations. Isn't it a beautiful thought? I want to talk about just enlarging your tents, which I think is talking about capacity. And I was trying to work this out because I realized there are some groups that are really small and you need more people. And the only way you're going to get more people is if you invite more people. And actually, when you're inviting lots and lots of people and you get more and more people in, it actually gets really fun and a little bit scary and chaotic, and it's wonderful. The best life group I ever had, we had 30 young people in a 1.5 bedroom flat, and there was one person sitting on the toilet with the toilet seat closed, and there were like 3 people around the sink, and it was amazing though. There are life groups and ministries that are meant to literally just be made up with huge crowds. And if you have the grace on you to do that, do it with all your might, and I will cheer you on forever. It is wonderful. Build your own church. Then bring them on Sunday. But you do it. It's really, really great. There are other groups in here, and this is why I wanted to speak to some of the groups that have been here for longer, that your groups have kept this church solid. Because your group was so solid, and you kept meeting week in, week out, you've become best mates in the world. Thank you so much for running such great groups. It is amazing what you've done. And I thought about it because what churches often do is they try and get you to split, to multiply, which is biblical. But I realized often we do that out of strategy instead of spirit. And when you do it out of strategy instead of spirit, generally what's going to happen is one group's going to go well and one's going to go badly, and it doesn't work. However, if you look at the early church, what they would do is they would gather together, and Acts 13 is a great example of this. They would gather together, they would worship, and then some prophetic person would go, hey, Paul, you're called to go. And I would ask those groups, those really mature groups, that you give yourself more to prayer, to releasing of spiritual gifts, and to prophetic words, to send people into ministries and to send people who are called to lead things. If you do that, you will find the Spirit will empower it, because whatever the Spirit leads, He empowers. And I would ask you to do it with urgency, because if we do get a flood of people, they need groups. So please do that seriously. For many of you, what she said about new people coming in, churches in general are intimidating at the moment because people have come out of COVID and they're generally not very friendly. And what's really nice is I went to the cricket, and I don't know, there must have been 8,000 people there. I went to the rugby, there were 20,000 people there. And stuff is changing, but I think Christians should lead the charge on the changing stuff. And so when I say enlarge your territory, this is what I'm meaning. Wherever your life group is at, or wherever your ministry is at, create more capacity in this next season. Whether that's, man, where's Mzwa? I saw him walk out. Okay, he's obviously gone to somewhere. Mzwa started last year with 4 volunteers. They have 25 volunteers at the moment. They just grew and grew and grew. They enlarged their capacity. Now, this season, and ministry leaders, I want you to talk to your teams about this. In this season, they actually have to deepen. They have to get each person in their gift set. They have to train people up. It's got to be really deepening. Worship in the last season has gone deep. Man, you guys are rock stars. You're just really, really fantastic. I'm praying for 4 more worship leaders. So I'm praying that Justy is like bored. Shall I? Nah, it's okay. We got this. Like that's where we need to get to. We need more. We need to fan more into flame. So in this next while, I would like you guys as groups and as ministries to start asking the question again and again: how are we going to enlarge our capacity? What's our tent stretch? Okay, now we're going to wrap up with this last thing. We need God to move some mountains. So there's Brad from Shloty. Won't you stand up, Brad? Lovely to have you here. So he has about 60 core people who attend their church. It's currently called The Table. When we get to move it into a venue, it will become an olive tree. So they are part of us, and we love them deeply. Brad and Christy are an amazing gift, and it is so cool to have them with us. We need a building. Only God can unlock that. I'm going to pray for that in a moment, okay? In those groups, we're going to pray for some stuff. Second thing is we need some parking. So in this terrible photo, sorry, it's enlarged and didn't work. But, sorry. That blue thing is our church. That other blue thing is where there used to be a tennis court and like a reservoir. If you go up Montpellier on the left there, that is designated by town planning to be Florida Road's parking solution. For the last 6 years, I have been asking the head of transport when he's going to make that the parking solution. And they keep saying no funds or some red tape thing. Can we just pray that down? Because remember when they didn't want to sell this building and we had a prayer meeting? And then they sold it. So can we just pray that down? Because it has been a long time waiting. If we get some parking solutions like that, man, it will allow us to have capacity. When we had carols, I had so many people send me a message, I can't find parking, I'm going home. Sad face. We need some stuff. We need some financial breakthrough. We are significantly lower than we were going into COVID. And so you would have seen we've made cuts on staffing and all kinds of things. We just need some grace in that. It is actually the one area that I have lots of faith for, but I would love to see the faith mature and become something but God. So we're going to pray for that. And then Kloof is going so well. They have 2 full services, but they have a 100-person building. So I told Matt that I think he should just have 5 services. And he told me, I think God should just give us some money so that we can make it a bit bigger than 100 people. So we need some breakthrough on their building. And if God can do what only God can do, and we do what we can do, it will be empowered and we will see an amazing year. So this year, the tone will be driven by these 3 prophetic words. It will be return to the things you did at first. Fan into flame the gift of evangelism and enlarge your tents. Increase your capacity. You've seen the plan. It's on a little red thing. The videos will be churned out over the next little while for life groups. You'll have this one for next week, and then they'll start rolling out, and fasting is happening soon. But can we wrap up tonight with some prayer? All right. Can you stand, make yourself into groups of like 5, 6? If it's a bit bigger, that's fine. And we're going to pray these things. Shloty needs a building. Kloof needs an enlarged building. We need some serious parking solutions, and we need some finances. Is that cool? And we can pray for some inviting culture. Go. Let's pray.